Welcome everyone back to weekly weather updates, and in today's video we're going to continue to have a look at the latest on the stormy conditions as we still have Storm Hermenia, which is slowly clearing through this evening, and by Tuesday afternoon we'll all start to see things settling down a little bit. Later on this week we are looking likely to see high pressure firmly build in, which should give us a dry and settled end to January and even start to February. It is still pretty uncertain, as we'll see from the latest UKV, with the exact temperatures, especially what sort of air masses we do see, because it could be the deciding factor between mid to high single digits or lower single digits with some quite harsh overnight frosts. As we see from the longer range, we continue to see this high pressure signal for much of early February, or at least what we can see of early February so far. But there is, as I said, still lots of uncertainty about the positioning of this big block and where will it sit with what wind direction, as we have seen some runs producing very cold easterlies, others more of a flat westerly with milder Atlantic flows. And although on sort of the pressure level it doesn't look too different, at the surface there could be vastly different outcomes. So that is something we need to decipher, and we'll have a look at that in more detail in the second half of the video. So do remember, if you enjoy the videos, make sure you like and subscribe, and remember to follow me on Twitter as well, the link's in the description. Now if you start on the live radar, you can see at the moment we still have Storm Hermenia sitting near us. Now it's nowhere near as intense as it was only 24 hours ago. It is this little arc in the precipitation you can see here just across the far south of the Republic of Ireland. This is where the centre of Storm Hermenia is sitting. However, it is slowly losing its intensity. The pressure is slowly rising, but it is still a fairly deep and large area of low pressure. Still gusty winds, especially along the south coast, and you can still see it is bringing in an array of heavy showers. Now, earlier today, we saw some exceptionally torrential showers through central southern England, the southeast, through parts of the Midlands and eastern England, and we even saw a few thunderstorms developing with some flashes of lightning, torrential rain, and even a bit of hail. So you can just see it has been pretty severe in a few places today, even though the system's slowly dying down. We're still seeing some of these very squally showers here. This line that looks like it's going to move through Southampton imminently as I'm recording this. Same as these showers head into London. Again, could be some really torrential precipitation. And of course, winds really pick up as well, so wouldn't be surprised to see 50-60 mile per hour winds within some of these squally showers. Some more persistent rain across Wales and the Midlands, that will slowly clear. And I said Hermenia, which is slowly weakening, should completely clear eastwards through the rest of Tuesday. There is a bit of snow further northwards for some of the highlands of Scotland, and although you can see it really is only the highest ground, it shows you cold air is not too far away, and cold air will wrap back in over the next few days. So although yes, turning drier, we are likely to see a couple of frosts to end January and generally pretty chilly conditions. Now look at the temperatures at 7:30. You see it is still pretty cold, especially in the north where temperatures towards the low single digits. Further southwards, more towards the mid to high single digits, as we have got this mild wedge within the centre of Hermenia. But as it clears, as I said, it will be turning much, much colder, with north to northwesterly winds getting pushed back in. If you look at the latest wind speeds, you can see nothing too severe, but still along those southern and western coasts, still got some very strong winds, and even inland some stronger winds as well. And these will pick up with those heavy showers and thunderstorms. Of course, these are sustained winds. We're looking at 20 to 30 for quite a few areas, maybe up to 40 in a few spots. And of course, gusts will be 10 to 20 miles per hour higher than this. And if we look at the past 24-hour precipitation, you can see we've seen lots of heavy showers and storms developing. And you can see that's why we've got lots of these yellows and even some streaks pushing northwards and eastwards. That's why we've seen those thunderstorms earlier today. One here to the north of London, a couple through London, just these slightly darker streaks indicating where those heavy torrential showers have spread through. And this will slowly, as I said, be dissipating away over the coming days, and eventually will all be drier later on this week. Now, if you do have some weather warnings in force, we've got a rain warning here issued for South Wales. It does expire at 9 p.m. tomorrow evening, as we continue to see lots of heavy showers pushing in. Again, looking at 1 inch to 2 inches of rain quite widely. Again, potentially an additional half an inch of what we've seen already. We then have another widespread rain warning here issued across the far south and southwest, again until 10 a.m. in the morning for heavy blustery showers and possibly some thunderstorms. Again, this probably should have been extended slightly further northwards and eastwards, as we did see some storms there, again for isolated impacts, but could be disruptive. And of course, we've got a strong wind warning in force here until 6 a.m. tomorrow, so most of these do expire fairly early on. 50 mile an hour quite widely inland, up towards 60 or 70 towards the coasts. And as we head into Tuesday, those warnings still remain, but they all slowly, as I said, disappear. So yeah, we're going to be warning free for the first time in a good few days come Wednesday. And as I said, it will be settling down quite well. Now, if you look at the latest UK view, if we start on the precipitation, you can see all of those heavy thundery showers continuing to clear through over the coming hours. And as we head into Tuesday morning, we still see some of those hefty showers spiralling through. But as we progress further through Tuesday, it starts to turn drier as that spiral of showers, centre of storm Hermenia, does clear away. Into Wednesday, we still have this streak of northwesterly winds. There is the risk of a further low pressure system developing towards the channel, a potential channel low. At the moment, though, UKV just has it skimming the far south and southeast through Wednesday afternoon. But most drier, and we do bring in a very cold northerly wind by the end of the week. And you can look at this, 3 p.m. on Thursday, lots of sunshine, very dry conditions and fairly pleasant. Later on in the week, we do see a bit of a weather front pushing in, but it doesn't have too much success coming up against the higher pressure. And slowly into the weekend, lots of showers and bits of thicker cloud as we've got quite a humid air mass around. But look at the pressure. High pressure is slowly nudging in. It is fighting against the lows out of the Atlantic, but most of the model output has it winning out into early February and it turning much drier. If you look at the upper air temperatures, you can see there is some chilly air around over the next 24 hours, but it'll get a bit more intense as we head through Wednesday into Thursday. -5, -6 isotherm flooding in, but getting pushed away quite quickly by the end of the week, and then a pretty mild air mass does move in. But of course, under higher pressure, it won't feel all too warm. Do look at the wind gusts here. You can see it's still very strong as we head through into Tuesday. Still 40, 50 miles per hour, but they slowly die out. And you can see for the rest of the week, apart from the risk of that channel low during Wednesday, winds should be much lighter, maybe 50 miles at most out to the west. But for most inland, back down to kind of normal wind gusts, 10, 20 miles per hour. If we look at the temperatures overnight tonight, generally keeping above freezing further southwards. We've got cloud and those showers rattling through, down towards freezing further northwards. Into Tuesday afternoon, not much of a diurnal range, 5 to 8 degrees. And into the evening temperatures, again, don't drop away too much, but in those areas with clear skies, down towards freezing or below freezing. Wednesday, again, not too much of a change, 3 to 7 degrees. And then slowly into Thursday, once again, temperatures widely down towards freezing into the morning. And by the afternoon, again, low to mid-single digits. Much colder day there, much colder feeling day, but plenty of sunshine as we do see that high pressure slowly build in. And then into Friday, another frost in the east into the morning, but then milder air does push in, and you can see as we head into the first day of February, the last month of meteorological winter, it does start pretty mild, temperatures 9 to 12 degrees, as we do have that mild air mass in place. But of course, if the high pressure really gets going, wouldn't be surprised to see a bit more of an intense inversion taking place, so there could be the risk of those frosts and chillier conditions returning in the subsequent days. Now, if you head into the longer range, as I said, high pressure looks like it will dominate early February. Now, of course, the models could be overblowing it a little bit, and that is very plausible, but it definitely looks like we'll see a decent period here of high pressure dominance. You can see those lows continue to fight out in the North Atlantic, but high pressure builds in by the weekend, and although it comes under some strain into the first week of February, generally it does win out for most of the time, especially further southwards. Now, it doesn't dominate enough to produce an easterly wind. Some runs have been trying to push an easterly wind in by this point in around a week's time, but the lows in the North Atlantic are too strong and don't allow that high to build towards Scandinavia. Instead, keeps the European high centred more over Europe, doesn't extend northwards, and eventually it starts to ridge northwards and then just dominates there as we do head into the middle portion of February. Of course, some chillier air masses involved, and if we look at those 2 metre temperatures, it could be, as I said, mid-single digits, but of course, as we get nearer to spring, our sort of average temperatures does start to climb. So even though 6 or 7 degrees here is kind of average for January, it's starting to drop a little bit more below average if we do head towards later in February into March. So we do, of course, have to temper our expectations. We have to do that quite a lot during the autumn when we go from 20-degree days pretty much every day in August and even September down towards 9 or 10 come November. Pretty big drop off, and we do see that sort of in the reverse as we head towards late winter, early spring. So we'll have to keep an eye on those temperatures, but even here it does look pretty chilly there into the longer term. But most importantly, it would be drier. There's still a lot of precipitation around, but the majority of this is falling in the next couple of days. You can see longer range though, not too much, especially for central and eastern areas. North and the west still flirts with precipitation, but at the moment, especially further south from this GFS run, it looks pretty good. If you look at the latest GM, Storm Hermenia is filling in, moving away. That channel low passes to our south, and then high pressure builds in. Tries to push that easterly wind in, doesn't have much success, and there could be some temporary low pressure involved at times. And generally towards day 10, high pressure is in control, especially further southwards, trying to reach northwards. But that big blob of purple of tropospheric polar vortex towards Greenland, really compact and strong, is not allowing that high pressure to move northwards. And you can see we'd have to bump this very cold air out of the way. You can see there is a very cold pool to our east to tap into if we did get an easterly going, and some runs are still showing that, but majority don't get that high towards Iceland and Scandinavia because of all of these lows and the very strong jet stream we are seeing here. You can see the very strong temperature gradient there, and that just does not allow that high to move north. It just flattens it and keeps it across Europe. Things could change, definitely into early February. We are looking at a longer range here. But at the moment, this is the most favoured outcome. High pressure over the top of us, perhaps a bit of an easterly flow at times, but no proper easterly winds as of yet. And if you do finish by looking at the latest ECMWF, this has just come out. Again, that low clears to our south. High pressure takes control, tries to push an easterly wind in with a Scandinavian high. Doesn't have too much success. And we just see high pressure sat right over the top of us. Again, quite a lot of mild air trying to get dragged in. But further southwards, there is the risk of drawing in some of this colder air. And it does mean at the surface, it could get chilly at times. Unfortunately, we don't have the 2 metre temperatures yet, but it could get chilly at times. That's one to keep an eye on. Now, if you look at the latest ensembles to finish, you can see the latest GFS ensembles, a little bit below average to end January. Bit of precipitation around as well, but most of that significant precipitation has now passed. Into early February, January temperatures hovering around average, some cold runs, some mild runs, again all dependent on the positioning of the high, but the one thing most runs agree is not too much in the way of precipitation. Not completely bone dry because the high pressure isn't going to be sat over the top of us and not move. It is going to get manipulated. We are going to see some weak weather fronts moving through, so we are going to see bits and bobs of rain, but nothing significant expected at this stage. But still a lot of deviation with the air mass, and that is because we're very unsure on those wind directions. The 2 metre temperatures generally hovering around average into early February, some milder runs, some cold runs, again difficult to say until we decipher those air masses. The dew points vary up and down, some cold dew points here. Again, doesn't necessarily mean a bitterly cold easterly wind, it just means more of a continental flow, chilly, dry air, some milder air masses with a lot more humidity and moisture, be cloudy, and a lot more in the way of mist and fog, whereas a more of a crisp easterly flow, yes, would be a bit colder, but it would be drier with more sunshine and less cloud. But as I said, the thing all the runs are agreeing on is that pressure is rising. There are a few runs that go from slightly lower pressure, and the pressure drops slightly here around the 3rd to 5th of February, but generally 1,020 millibars and above, so higher pressure generally involved. And to finish with the latest ECMWF ensembles, the midnight run, generally, again, slightly below average to end January. Quite a bit of precipitation around, but dying off into February. A bit more above average there during early February, so perhaps more inclined of a west to southwesterly flow than a south to easterly flow, like some other runs are showing you. Also a handful of very cold runs, but most are relatively mild at this stage. And you can see sea level pressure is high, even higher than some of those GFS runs. So yeah, definitely on board with something high and dry into early February. Temperatures don't look amazing, still mid to high single digits, but of course with dry weather definitely better than if we saw rain or it being quite a bit cold. Of course, we could see temperatures 13-14 degrees with heavy rain, with a very strong southwesterly flow involved with a low pressure system. So I think most people would not mind trading for a few degrees for those drier conditions. So as we head into February, it is looking like it's going to start fairly mundane and quiet. This January we've had so far has been very, very disruptive. Lots of weather events taking place. We did have about a week in the middle of the month where it was dry and fine, but the first 10 or 12 days was cold with some heavy snow in places and lots of disruption. And then the past week or so, we've had lots of stormy conditions with, as I said, that high pressure block in between. So it does look like February's going to start on a bit of a quiet note, but I wouldn't be surprised if that didn't continue. We did see something else start to develop. We continue to see those runs trying to move that Scandinavian high. It would be pretty remarkable if we got to the end of winter and we continue seeing these Scandinavian high runs and they never fully come off. So I wouldn't be surprised, it'd be sod's law that Scandinavian high does come off at some point between now and the end of sort of any possible cold weather in April. So yeah, we'll wait and see, but this is the latest that we got at the moment. So anyway, thanks for watching, hope you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you again for another video soon.